block of the coast, you will get nothing. That position migrated into you will always get nothing, even if you are within 1 block of the coast. And I'm telling you this, yesterday I'm proud to report that $16.16 million was wired from the Feinberg Fund directly to the Florida Association of Realtors, and it is the Florida Association of Realtors that will now decide what the criteria are to make sure that local realtors get paid for contracts that are lost. And I say with no reservation that that would never have happened if Marianne Wines was not your president working so hard. Marianne was relentless. I think Feinberg is afraid of her.
She is. We're all afraid of her.
Yeah, but I mean, it truly, you cannot overstate the degree to which this was a political miracle to get done. And I'm telling you, God puts us all in places for reasons that sometimes we don't know. And Marianne and I were joking this morning that when we each kind of volunteered and signed up for our various jobs right now, we had no idea that this would be the #1 issue we'd have to address. But I am so glad that Marianne has been your president, and you've just done a tremendous job. And thank you so much for being a good partner.
We could not have, you know, that you and your father were instrumental. We could, please, y'all, give them. Let's go here.
And so here is the next step. We need to make sure that at ECAR we have a very meaningful role in determining what the criteria will now be that FAR uses to distribute that over $16 million. John Seabury has said that they're going to bring in some adjusters and develop the models and the criteria to get folks paid. We are very focused on making sure that that money goes here in Northwest Florida, that it's not in Pinellas County or Broward County the way some of the tourism promotion money was allocated. And so the job isn't done. We have really made some huge strides, but we've got to keep going to make sure that our local realtors are compensated. A couple of other notes about the election that's coming up on November 2nd. There are some very critical issues that are coming up that we need to focus on and continue to focus on to promote the real estate market. We've all heard all about Amendment 4 and how important it is to defeat that. And I just worry that we're getting a little overconfident. Because if you look at some of the polling information, it says that Amendment 4 would lose if it was on the ballot right now. And that is largely as a result of the resources that the Florida Association of Realtors have committed, that the Florida Chamber of Commerce has committed. But remember where we were the day before the governor's election. Everyone thought Bill McCollum was going to win. He was up 4 or 5 points in the polls. Rick Scott was a dead duck. And that all changed because the polling models being used right now are fundamentally flawed. And here's why. Really, for the first time, it is very difficult now to predict who constitutes a high propensity voter. In my election for state representative, we were able to say, all right, this is a person who's voted in 3 or 4 out of the last 4 Republican primaries. So that's who to send mail to, who to make phone calls to, whose doors to knock on. The people that have only voted in 1 or 2 or none of the last 4 primaries, you don't have to target them as much. Here's what we saw in this election. We saw people that had no primary voting history voting at the same propensity as people who voted in 4 of the last 4 Republican primaries. And so low propensity voters and high propensity voters are turning out at consistent rates. And that's why all the polling was off when folks were predicting that Bill McCollum would defeat Rick Scott. So we have to make sure that we are communicating the message about Amendment 4 beyond just highly elite, high propensity voters. We have to take that message to other folks. And I know that you have a very sophisticated political model at ECAR, and we're going to have to utilize that to communicate the message about Amendment 4 beyond just the traditional folks that we think about. Another amendment that I want you to be aware of that's very important is Amendment 2. And I think it's really going to help the real estate market in our area. Amendment 2 is a tax break for military families if a member of that family is deployed to a war zone. Right now, if you're a military family and you have a family member deployed to a war zone, you have to still pay property taxes for that period of time. What Amendment 2 would say is that while a family member is deployed to a war zone, you are forgiven your property taxes for that period of days. So think about the advantage that gives Northwest Florida in encouraging people to invest in our real estate market. Because we're going to be able to say to folks, if you're from North Carolina or Ohio, this is the place, Florida is the place to make your investment and to buy your home, because you're going to get this tax break that you would never get in any other state. And so it's really a great marketing tool for you and a great way to encourage investment in Northwest Florida. That has to pass with a 60% vote. It's going to affect more than 25,000 Floridians. And so please, as hard as you're working to defeat Amendment 4, work very hard to promote Amendment 2 and get folks to vote for that. I wish I could tell you about Amendment 3 and that we had a chance to get that passed, but unfortunately the court kicked Amendment 3 off the ballot. That would have enhanced the first-time home buyer credits. It's something that I think is very important to get people to make that first step to make the most significant investment that they'll make in their lives, and that's to purchase their first home. So maybe there are some things we can do from a statutory perspective to help first-time home buyers. We may take another bite at the apple from a constitutional perspective, but know that we haven't given up on that issue. So that's just a few things. Most importantly, the great job Mary Ann's done, but also focus on the